Now, the renovations that are occurring on the UN are ultimately necessary, but the cost that is occurring is not. There's a huge overrun. I want to be clear that the opposition I have with this amendment is not to obstruct the UN from making a safe environment for the workers and the visitors that come there, but to encourage reform and use best business practices, considering the taxpayers are funding about a quarter of the amount of money they're spending for renovations. You know, we had a hearing here in Congress looking at what it would cost to build and renovate the United Nations. And they presented a figure. Well, Donald Trump, who's built a lot of hotels, a lot of apartment houses, came in and he said, I could do the same thing for half the money. That was half the money back when he offered that. So he said using better business practices, he could do it for a lot less money. So I believe, my colleagues, that the UN has had a history of wasting money. Let me give you one example. In 2003, the Secretary General's bulletin, he banned all smoking in the UN. Well, the UN spent $130,000 on a ventilation system to accommodate smokers in the cafeteria. Well, I'm not clear why they did that. The architect was starting to get into so much problem, they terminated him. By so doing, they paid him $44 million after the termination. So these are the kinds of things that I'm worrying about, and I think the UN auditors have expressed the same concern that I have in the whole process of procurement and contract management on this particular building. The GAO expressed their concern regarding the UN's weakness in existing internal oversight and procurement. So all I'm asking simply is, in this time of economy, we should hold off continuing to renovate the UN until we practice best business practices and we make sure that they're not continuing to have overruns, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Florida reserved.
Basically, as I've told my colleagues, that this is a cost overrun on renovations in the UN, and more importantly that with this huge economic downturn we've had, I think we need to go back and look at the procurement. I want to say something that's different from the UN amendment. I had an amendment 429 dealing with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. This amendment was ruled out of order, and it was because the amendment basically did not specify the individuals whose defense by the Internal Revenue by the United States taxpayers would be deleted. To put it in perspective, the amendment I had was saying that people like Franklin Raines, who was the CEO of Fannie Mae, and these other executives, while they were hiding huge amounts of debt, were collecting huge bonuses, including the board of directors of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. At the same time, the Inspector General found that these people were hiding this debt, and now taxpayers had to bail them out. But the ironic thing and the tragic thing is that taxpayers have to pay the salaries, have to pay the lawyers to defend all these people that actually were hiding the debt. So my amendment basically is saying that we should stop paying, taxpayers should stop paying the legal fees for these executives that were hiding the debt. But understanding that this is out of order, I'm not going to offer this amendment. We'll look for another opportunity. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back the balance of my time.